Hi, this is Mike. Thanks for joining me today. And today I am going to show you how I created this Mother's Day card using washi tape. I'm also going to show you a little demonstration on how I created the balloons using Cricut Design Space. So let's get started. Alright, now let's get to the supplies used. A little bit about my projects. A lot of times when I start a project, I have the project in mind, but I don't test it out beforehand, so I usually gather the supplies that I think I'm going to need. So in this video, I gathered my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding cardstock, some washi tape, some extra cardstock there, the Happy Mother's Day stamp, the Broken China Distress ink, and then this type of mask or template that I made that I actually am not going to be using this in this video, but I will do another video showing you how I created that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is start with my washi tape and the cardstock, and I will leave a link in the description box below of all the supplies used. So for this project, I'm going to go ahead and use the 3 washi tape that I picked out, and I'm going to go ahead and cover the entire piece of cardstock. Now this can be any cardstock. What I'm going to end up doing is using my electronic cutting machine. You can use the Cricut, you can use the Cameo, a portrait, Brother Scan and Cut. You can even use regular dies, or you can use punches. Now this technique will work with all of those. So basically what I'm going to do is cover the cardstock with the washi tape in, you can do it in a random pattern. I kind of just started laying things down and then repeated it as I went. You can pretty much make any type of pattern or not a pattern. You can make it any way you want. And what we're going to do is once the cardstock is covered with the washi tape, we're going to cut it out. And in this case, I'm going to cut it out with my Cricut. But like I said, you can use dies, punches, or any other electronic cutting machine to go ahead and cut out the balloons in this case. I will finish this up and meet you back when it's done. Alright, and with the magic of YouTube, I have completed the panel. And I really like how this came out. I was holding it up there to the card base thinking, this would make a really great card, and I might do this again in another video. Now on to creating the balloons. The first thing that I like to do is create shapes the size of my card. So I clicked on the shapes icon there at the bottom left, and then I made this square into a rectangle 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And now I went ahead and clicked the shapes button again, and I created a circle, and I used that little green looking icon on the side there so that I could go ahead and make it an oval. I went ahead and I clicked my shape buttons again, and I created a triangle, and I scaled that down. I selected both the triangle and the oval, and I went to edit and horizontal, and I aligned the triangle to the oval horizontally, and then I clicked edit and weld. I then scaled that down a little bit, and then I moved the balloon onto the rectangle that we made earlier just to make sure that it was the right size. I could have easily found a balloon image that I could have cut out, but I thought this was pretty easy enough, so why not make one myself? There's a lot of different shapes and things that you can make, and a lot of it is just combining different shapes and objects together, and so that was a really good example of how to make a balloon, and I think it came out great. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the card base ready. I'm actually using that extra panel there that I had, and I'm taking my washi tape and applying that. I will apply that to the bottom of this panel as well as the top. And washi tape comes in so many different colors and sizes and patterns. The actual hearts on this one are clear, so if I wanted to put a piece of paper or color the cardstock beforehand, I could have. And because this panel, the back of the panel will not be shown and will be glued to the card base, I can go ahead and just fold that over. Depending on your application, you may want to cut those. So now I have that done. and I decided that every other one would be popped up and or put directly onto the card base or to the panel there. So that's pretty much the layout. So it looked pretty good for me. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the Happy Mother's Day. I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink. I like to make sure that the stamp is well inked there. Give it a little extra second to make sure that ink transfers, and that came out perfect. I will put the ink away and I will begin to put the final touches on the balloons. Alright, before I put my balloons on, I am going to go ahead and tie some string. So I'm just going to get a knot and tie that onto each of the balloon bottoms there. And I'm just making a quick little knot. And so I'm going to tighten it just a little bit, just so that it stays on, but not so tight that it crushes the paper. Let me do that to the remaining 3 and I will be right back. So just to ensure that the knots do not come undone, I'm going to go ahead and apply a drop of Ranger Multimedia Matte glue just to hold those in place there. And I'm going to go ahead and let those dry just for a few minutes. I've pushed the balloons to the side there just to give them a little chance to dry so that when I do handle them and snip off the extra pieces of string, they do not come untied. I went ahead and put some foam tape on the back of my panel there because I'm going to pop it up just a little bit onto the card base. And so again, I am using a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, and I am applying the panel there. Looks great. I'm getting really good at applying things directly onto card bases, so I've kind of steered away from glue when I don't need to. As you can see, I did have a little issue cutting out this balloon, but it's no big deal because it will be hidden. This will actually be one of the bottom pieces then. So if you ever make a mistake in crafting, you don't need to throw things out. Most of the time you can hide them. In this case, this is a perfect example. My balloons were going to be overlapping anyways, and so not a big deal. So for the ones that are going to be glued onto the card base, I am gluing them on using the Ranger Multimedia Matte. For the ones that are being popped up, I am using the foam squares there. Not sure why they're called foam squares when they're actually shaped as rectangles, but that is what it says on the package, so I'm going to go with it. So I popped that one up. I'm going to go ahead and apply some glue to the back of this one and lay that down. That looks good there. And for the very last one, that one will be popped up as well. And I really like the way this came out because if you can see, the pattern slightly overlaps to the balloon to the right, and I really like the way that came out. So I'm going to go ahead and use my sharp scissors there and trim off any of the extra pieces of string, and they will not unravel because I went ahead and applied that glue there, so they're pretty secure at this point. Then I'm going to go ahead and just trim off these bottom parts of the string there just so that they lay just above the bottom of the card. I had that little string I was trying to get. I didn't really want it to cover the Happy Mother's Day, so I was trying to twist it just so that it maybe fell in the opposite direction, and eventually it did. I'm gonna add some Nuvo Drops. This is a new product for me and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm using Nuvo Drops in Dark Walnut, Violet Galaxy, and Rhubarb Crumble. And then when you see the finished shot there of the finished card, I did go ahead and add some liquid pearls in the color Silver Pearl. And it's pretty much the same thing. It's a drop that I'm going to go ahead and put on there. And they go on liquid. They kind of dry like a little oval or a dome. And they become part of the card. And they're really neat. They almost remind me of kind of like a candy or something, but they're really neat. And they come in all sorts of colors and sheens and shines. So I can see there I did add the silver, just a few there, and that is the finished card. And there is the Happy Mother's Day card that I will be giving to my mom for Mother's Day. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate when you guys do that. And on your screen now is a subscribe button as well as a recommended video. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great day.